right, this is the introduction to the women in the Bible. I will be mainly using this book for 6 of the women in the Bible. I'll give you their names in a moment. But this is called the 6 New Gospels. And I'll give you the women that we will be talking about. 6 of the main women in the Bible we will be talking about. There are over 100 women in the Bible, and I'm going to focus on these 6, but I will be talking about others. We're going to be talking about Elizabeth of Judaea, that's the mother of John the Baptist. Mary of Nazareth, that's the mother of our Lord Jesus Christ. Now, the story of Photina of Samaria, that's the name of the woman that was at the well. The woman at the well, which you didn't have a name in the Bible. Well, she wrote something, and she referred herself to Photina. As a matter of fact, I might read that part tonight. The story of Martha of Bethany, as well as Mary of Bethany, those are the sisters of Lazarus. And then the story of Mary of Magdala. I'm not going to start with her. I want you to go and do some research, and you'll find out that in the 70s they had to stop saying that Mary Magdala was a prostitute. Not saying she was a virgin, but she wasn't a prostitute. And that has been brought out. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some parts of this book. And I'm going to start off with Elizabeth. The reason why I'm going to start off with Elizabeth, because she's the mother of John the Baptist, and of John the Baptist was the one paving the way for Jesus, preparing the way for everyone to meet the Savior. Now, this book was translated by a woman by the name of Margaret Hebblethwaite. You know, I messed that up. But anyway, she explains that she had it translated using the same meaning of the words, but words that are more commonly used today, and especially by women. So I'm going to read a little bit on Elizabeth to start off with, so you can understand how this is going to go. They all wrote this in first person. Okay, that means they told you who they were when they were writing. That's a little bit different than the men. Okay, and this is how it starts off with Elizabeth. My name is Elizabeth, and I am descendant of Aaron, the first great priest of our people. Aaron's wife was called Elishba. So I am named after her. I suppose I could be called a pious Jew, traditional in my devotion. And I have continued the priestly tradition of my family, for I married a priest. Zechariah, my husband, was also descended from Aaron. Now that's the beginning of Elizabeth. I'll continue reading some of that, especially when, John the Baptist was, they gave him the name of John, and all the other people were saying he can't name be John. I want you to hear what she said about that whole conversation. Now let's go to Photina. To see, this is the woman at the well, and it's spelled Photina. Okay? I come from Sychar in Samaria and am known as Photina, which means woman of light. I suppose it is a name that suits me, for I have always had an ability to attract a following. From my teens, I knew I was attractive, with a slim figure, a pretty face, and good teeth. I taught myself to dress well on a modest budget, to match colors and add different accessories and jewelry so that I had a constant round of new outfits. Why not look good if you can? I am a woman and proud of it. I could never see the point of dressing drably under the banner of modesty. Sexual attractiveness is largely a matter of self-awareness, after all, and once you have that, you have to be perverse to lose it. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get into, because you remember Jesus said she had all them husbands and things. Well, they never mentioned anything about her children. And she had children with some of these husbands, as well as she had one that used to beat her for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then the community came out to save her on that. I'll be getting into that later when I get deeper into Photina. Now, Mary of Nazareth. Okay, I'm going to read the first part of her as well. My name is Mary of Nazareth, and I am the mother of Jesus. People have called me by a lot of extravagant titles, but I think you should know I am a very ordinary woman. You came to know Jesus later, after he became a controversial public figure. But I know him before anyone else in the world. I knew him from the first tiny tapping of his feet in my womb, just about the time that my pregnancy was beginning to show. At around 3 months, started kicking around 3 months, that is when they do. From then on, I felt in communion with him, and day by day I felt our relationship growing stronger. I had very mixed feelings about the pregnancy. I do not want to say much about it now, except that it was not exactly planned, and it took me totally by surprise. From surprise, I felt joy and privilege. The amazing feeling that I had created another human being of unique quality. Just as my body was stretching and growing and making something new, so my soul felt it. It was stretching out and growing into the glory of God and making a new song of praise for the Creator. In my excitement, I pledged myself to the new direction my life was going to take, praying, "Let your will be done in me. I will serve you in whatever way you want. I thank God for choosing someone as ordinary as me to have such a special child. And I already had a pretty good idea of just how I'll continue, just how special he was going to be. I'll stop there with Mary of Nazareth. Let's see. Let's go to the first part of, let's do Martha. Let's do Martha first before Mary, the sisters of Lazarus rather. Okay. My name is Martha, and I live in Bethany with my sister Mary and my brother Lazarus. Mary is a couple of years younger than me and rather different in temperament. When I am efficient and organized, she is dreamy and forgetful. I keep my head screwed on while she lets her heart run away with her. Without me, the home would fall apart. Without her, it would be reduced to boredom. That's what Martha's first part was. Now let me go and read Mary, what she says first. My name is Mary. I live in Bethany, and I am the sister of Martha. I think she has already told you quite a bit about me and about the times Jesus spent with our family. She has probably told you how emotionally and irresponsible I am. It is a reputation I do not much like, but there is not much I can do about it. And no doubt you will think the same thing by the time I have finished telling you about the most important event of my life with him. It was even more than that. It was the most important thing, or most important thing that happened between Jesus and anyone. Whether they be man or woman, it was so important that Jesus said straight away at the time that wherever the gospel will be proclaimed throughout the world, this incident would be told in my memory. I'll get back to that. I'll read that again when I start on the books. Okay, now this is Mary of Magdala. My name is Mary Magdalene. You have probably heard my name mentioned as one of Jesus' women disciples. There were quite a few of us over the years, but I was one of the earliest, most constant companions. Perhaps that is why my name tends to be put at the top of the list. Or perhaps it is because Jesus and I were very close. Or perhaps it is because of what happened at the end when he made me the first witness of his resurrection. But let me not spoil the story. I was known as Mary Magdalene because there were several of us who were called Mary among Jesus' followers. There was Mary, the mother of James and Jose, and the wife of Clopas, who often went around with me. Sometimes people would call us Mary Magdalene, and the other Mary. And then, of course, there was Jesus, Mother Mary, the wife of Joseph of Nazareth, and there was another Mary with a sister called Martha and a brother called Lazarus who lived in Bethany. She didn't follow Jesus on the road as some of us did, but she was very close to him. Normally, as you know, women take their second name from their closest male relative. I'll continue on that one later. Now, I pretty much gave you the beginning of the 6 new gospels, and you can go and purchase the book. You should. It's a good book, a very good book. It gives you an idea of how the women felt during those days, and which shows you why we still have problems today, because there's still men that feel that there's a certain place a female should be and or do. And as long as we have things like that, we're going to have problems as women. See, Mary Magdalene was not only a disciple, she was one of the apostles. And there were a large number of women apostles that people didn't even know about. We will be talking more on that as we go along. But mainly what I want to do is the book that I'm using. It's called The Top 100 Women of the Bible. Well, I'm going to be using this book also because I learned about a lot of women that I didn't know anything about. And I didn't know that they had contributed to, they were the helper mates. That's what the wife is supposed to be, the helper mate. And many of them were helper mates. So even though the men were the ones that are in control, eventually they were going to have to realize that their wives were very important. And it's getting a lot better for those that really understand the meaning of marriage, See, I'll get more into that when I get into the 7th commandment. Thou shalt not commit adultery. And that covers the marriage laws, the child rearing, how you're supposed to train your children. It has all of those precepts beneath it. So I'll get into that at that time. But I just wanted to get an introduction to the women in the Bible. I'm hoping to have it. I think I have at least one other panelist that's going to come in. We're going to start with, let's see, I want to go alphabetically, and it's only going to be short for each one until we get to the 6, and then we get more in depth on them. But there's like a little 1-page item here. And it looks like we're starting off with Abigail from A to Z. And then it ends with Zipporah. So we're going to go from A to Z. Abigail is going to be the first one we talk about in next episode. And they have a little blurb on Abigail. And I'll go through that. And once we get to the E's, that's when we'll get deeper into this book. But we'll have little short 5 or 10 minute briefs on all the other women in the Bible. I'm hoping that I don't have to do all this by myself. And I will be covering also, this is called the bad girls in the Bible. When I get to a bad girl, we'll talk a little deep into that. I have several books on the women in the Bible. This is another one called The Women in the Bible. When I start reading out of them, I'll give you and this is all the women of the Bible. This is another one. Now, they all pretty much say the same thing. Pretty much the same thing. The only difference is the 6 Gospels. These 6 women are also in those books. But it doesn't get in depth from their writings. And this is from their own writings. So we're going to start off with, what did I say, Abigail? Yeah, we're going to start off with Abigail. So now go and look up Abigail. And when I come back, we're going to talk about Abigail briefly. But welcome to the Women in the Bible. That's the name of this show. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Until we meet again, I love you.